I'm Simon Miller. 2 plus 2 equals potato. Goofy wrestling for life. Warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. Why? Here's why.
It's not actually Simon I had you going there, it's me, Phil. Simon's off being a wrestler somewhere in Texas, and it's all gone a little bit wrong timings-wise. So you've got me for SmackDown, he'll be back for Raw, so don't you worry your pretty little heads about it. It's only temporary, but for now, you're stuck with me. Let's up those downs. SmackDown kicked off and we didn't see anybody arriving at the building, so I can only assume that the whole show was just going to be cancelled because there was nobody there, but apparently not, because out came Randy Orton. He said that he can count on one hand the amount of people that he trusts in this business, and Cody Rhodes is one of them, but he needs an explanation from Cody as to why he is teaming with Roman Reigns, so he calls him out, and then out comes Cody Rhodes. Cody says that Roman gave him his word, and at other times when Roman gave him his word, like when he said he was going to beat him at WrestleMania and things like that, Roman stuck to his word, so Cody is going to take him at his word, which seems like a strange thing to do after everything that Roman Reigns has done, but why not, Cody, eh? But he does say that he is talking to the legend killer, and it is time for this rogue bloodline to be killed. Now he shakes Randy's hand and Randy says, yeah, it's not a problem unless you're gonna make it a problem, and then out comes Kevin Owens to give his 2 cents. Cody and Roman shake hands and say it's not gonna be a problem unless you make it a problem, and then out came Kevin Owens, which is like he's gone completely rogue. No one even said his name. Before he could say anything at all though, out came the bloodline, and they were talking about how long it's been while they've all been trying to take out the bloodline. The Cody Rhodes with different people by his sides have all tried and failed. Randy and Kevin have let you down, Cody, and that is why Cody Rhodes needs Roman Reigns. Before they can say much of anything though, Kevin Owens challenges them to a tag team match, but Cody Rhodes says it doesn't have to be a tag team match player, because there are 3 people in this ring, but Kevin interrupts him and says, no, you've got your tag match at Bad Blood, you've got your partner, you've chosen him in Roman Reigns, and tonight it's going to be Kevin and Randy versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu, and that is going to be our main event. Now I am going to give all of this an up, because while it does seem like we've had 1,000 versions of this match right now, it does add some nice little ripples in Cody's different relationships with like Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, because of what he's done with Roman, because of the joining forces. And all of this, the best thing about it is it's kind of understandable. It's like it's rooted in truth. You look at the history of what Roman Reigns has done throughout his time in the bloodline on SmackDown, and you can see why Randy and Kevin would be kind of against this partnership of Cody and Roman, but you can also see why Cody would kind of feel like he needs to join forces with Roman to finally settle this new bloodline thing and then figure out the Roman stuff as they go along. So it's all believable, it's understandable, and it's definitely intriguing as to how this is moving forward. So it is definitely getting an up. We then cut backstage and we had Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, and Nia Jax was, well, not pleased. She's complaining about how they could have gotten rid of one of Bayley or Naomi last week, and instead one of them is going to be facing her for the title, and then she grabs Tiffany Stratton by the neck, choking her out, and says, if this ends bad for me, this will end really bad for you. And she lets go of her and gives her a little pat and says, okay, we can be friends again, and walks off. But Tiffany Stratton, well, she didn't like that. Obviously, she was being strangled. It's not a nice thing to do. We did then go straight into this match, and it was Bayley versus Naomi, with the winner to face Nia Jax at Bad Blood for that women's title. Now obviously this was friend versus friend, so at the start they were kind of reluctant to face each other, but slowly got into it. Naomi kept on going for the most devastating move in sports entertainment. I'm not going to do it with as much flair as Simon, but she kept on getting 1-2 oohs. There's another one of Simon's things, and it was a very, very back and forth kind of match. Naomi then literally dives into the commercial break, but then when we come back, take a guess. What do you reckon happens? Yep, Bayley was in control. You got it. We then go into a big back and forth sequence with loads of 2 counts, because Bayley hits a dive of her own onto Naomi, but then when she gets back in the ring, she gets hit by a rear view for a 2 count, and then there's a like spike head scissors thing for a 2 count, a blockbuster for another 2 count, and eventually Bayley hits a sunset flip powerbomb into the turnbuckle, hits the Bayley to belly, goes up top, hits the big elbow and gets the 1-2-3. It is going to be Nia Jax versus Bayley at Bad Blood. And this was a really fun match. I enjoyed it. It was just fast back and forth action. They played into the friend versus friend dynamic thing. And most importantly, Bayley got the win, and hopefully this is the sign of good things to come for Bayley. I desperately need Bayley to be at the top and be great again after a sort of rocky time that she's had a bit recently. So hopefully this is kind of a renewed push for Bayley. Let's get her back to the tippy top where she belongs, and I am gonna give it an up. Then we head backstage and Andrade bumps into LA Knight because we were going to have a follow-up from that really bizarre little moment that they had at the end of their match on SmackDown last week, where they kind of went for a handshake and then it turned into a fist bump, and then Andrade kind of grabbed his hand and forced a handshake, and it was all a little bit strange. Andrade tells LA Knight that he won and he respects that, but a real man would shake someone's hand to show respect. Now, before LA Knight could even respond, Carmelo Hayes just kind of dives in, chucks LA Knight across this kind of flight case thing, and then kind of beckons Andrade to follow him because that match is going to be up next. And then Andrade, well, he just kind of stands there with LA Knight on the floor and he just puts his mask on and wanders off. So I'm not sure what that means in terms of respect, but it can't be good. But we do go straight into Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes round 6, and it's 3-2 to Andrade currently. Now, all of these matches have been great because they've just got really great chemistry together, and this was no different. There was the story kind of surrounding the entire match was basically they've wrestled each other so much that they both have each other's number, and so it's just kind of a game of reversals at this point. The best bit for me was when Andrade kind of reversed Carmelo Hayes' kick into this mad power slam on the apron, which is the hardest part of the ring, and if someone's playing Simon Miller catchphrase bingo, someone's bound to have won by now. But I don't even know how he did it, because Andrade was kind of dangling out of the ropes and still managed to do the turnover into the power slam and slam him really hard when he was still dangling out of the ropes. I don't know how it works, someone explain it with science, but it looked really damn cool. You'll be super pleased to know that the commercial break is back in full force though, as when we came back from the commercial break straight after this, Carmelo Hayes was back in control. The commercial break wasn't just out for him though, because Carmelo Hayes at some point got his lip busted, and then they went back and forth with more big moves and more big reversals, and then Carmelo hit a big springboard DDT for a 2 count, but it was at the complete wrong time because we went straight into a commercial break. And guess what? Andrade was in control when we came back. It just works out every time. Andrade reverses a superplex attempt into his double moonsault thing, which, I mean, someone's at some point just got to learn to just roll a little bit further and you'll be absolutely fine. But then Carmelo Hayes reverses a superplex into a cutter for a 2 count, and then he jumps for a flying nothing and gets a big kick from Andrade, and he rolls out of the ring. So while he was outside and he was being counted out, LA Knight, comes out for the revenge of what happened backstage earlier, obviously, and as he was coming down the ramp, Hayes kind of ran back into the ring, gets hit by a big kick by Andrade, but you'd think that would be the distraction to allow Andrade to win, but it kind of flips it around because Andrade, LA Knight got up onto the ring apron, so Andrade went to sort of confront him and is like, what the hell are you doing? Get out, this is my kind of match. And then Carmelo Hayes hits him with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, and he got the win. 1, 2, 3. Not only is the commercial break back in full force, so is the surprise roll-up. Simon Miller would be so happy, but he's not even here to see it. After the match, obviously LA Knight and Andrade have this big argument in the ring, going back and forth, and LA Knight kind of tries to shake Andrade's hand, but Andrade refuses and walks off in a bit of a huff. But it is 3-3 in the Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes feud rivalry thing. We're definitely going to get this to a number 7, but this was really good fun. Obviously, these guys have incredible chemistry together, and the matches just keep building and building and building, and I like the way the story's going, and they're both learning from each other, and the reversals kind of start off in ring, but then get bigger and bigger to reversals on the top ropes, and things just kind of escalate. But it's also building the kind of best of 7 to then incorporate the US title a bit more in it. Obviously, when it got to 5, Andrade got the title shot to LA Knight, but he lost that, and now it's kind of continuing. I assume Carmelo's going to get a title shot at LA Knight as well at some point, and then I guess maybe Andrade costs him that, and then we end up in a big 3-way thing. So it's nice that it's kind of escalated within the Carmelo Hayes and Andrade storyline to building towards this best of 7 series that have just kind of happened rather than been set out from the very beginning, but also building to include LA Knight, include a championship, and make it feel like it's aiming towards something important. So because of all of that wrapped up into a pretty little up, yeah, I'm giving it an up. So we go backstage and we see Owens and Randy chatting, and in comes Cody Rhodes, and he's basically saying, look, I know there's a problem, we need to talk about this. But Owens is like, yeah, we do need to talk about it, but not right now. We have like a match in half an hour, we're getting ready for it. Let's speak some other time. But Cody thinks they should talk it out right there, and Owens very much disagrees, and it all gets a little bit heated and ends up with Kevin Owens banning Cody Rhodes from coming out during their match later on. He says, just leave it well alone. You've got your tag match. You go prepare for that. Let us do our own thing. And Owens kind of storms out. But Orton has a different idea, because he basically guarantees that the Tongans are going to come out at some point, and it will be 4-on-2. So he asks Cody to watch the match, stay backstage, and if the Tongans come out, and he would very much appreciate his help. Now it appears we've got trouble right here in River City, with a capital T and that rhymes with P and that stands for pool. We then get a big promo package for AJ Styles' big return on SmackDown next week, which is gonna be a pretty big show, but more on that later, because now it's time for Michin versus Piper Niven. Chelsea Green obviously comes out holding a big bin and holding her nose because it absolutely stinks, and I'm gonna kind of pause the proceedings a little bit here to just give Chelsea Green her own up. Yes, I don't care, I've got the power, Simon isn't here, he can't stop me. She's just so entertaining every time she's on TV. Doesn't matter what she's given, she just makes absolute gold out of it, and she needs her own up for that alone. Chelsea Green, you're great. Obviously, Chelsea Green is kind of running about causing distractions all over the place, where when Michin gets really annoyed with this, she starts to chase off Chelsea, and she just looks absolutely terrified and runs away. But as she's doing that, Piper Niven comes off the apron with a big cannonball onto Michin, leading us into the commercial. But Piper Niven is way too powerful for the commercial break, and when we come back, she is still on top. She kind of pounces Michin into the corner and then hits her with another big cannonball. Michin comes back with a ton of kicks and like a crucifix bomb, but Piper kind of slows it down with a spinning side slam thing and a big Michinoku driver for some 2 counts. But Chelsea Green continues her shenanigans, and she kind of distracts the referee, which would allow Piper Niven to hit a big cannonball on the outside into Michin. But it all goes a little bit wrong, because Michin moves out the way, which means Piper just cannonballs straight into that big rubbish bin that Chelsea Green brought out earlier, and as she was getting back in the ring, she gets hit with the meet the feet by Michin, and it's the 1-2-3. Michin beats Piper Niven. Now this whole match was a little bit quick, and obviously the winner was going to be Michin, because I mean they're building towards the big dumpster match between Michin and Chelsea Green, which is going to be just wonderful. I can sense it right now. But with all of that, it was still really good fun, and obviously everything's building towards this dumpster match, and that is the overall point. So I am going to give it an up, and I genuinely cannot wait for the dumpster match next week. We then continue the build towards the big SmackDown that is happening next week, because we get a promo for the tag team ladder match that's going to be the Bloodline versus DIY versus the Street Profits, and all 3 teams say that they're going to win, so somebody is definitely lying. We also see Bayley come up to Naomi backstage, and she says sorry about the match earlier, but Naomi says it's fine, you deserve it, and when you win the championship, we will run this back one more time. Bayley agrees to it, and they hug it out, and it's all fine, and Naomi continues walking down the hall until Tiffany Stratton walks up to her and basically mocks her for losing in the way only Tiffany Stratton can. But Naomi comes back saying since Nia is facing Bayley, her sidekick kind of needs something to do, and that something to do is going to be get beaten down in the ring, and Naomi goes off to see Nick Aldis to make that match. Which brings us to our main event, Kevin and Randy versus Jacob and Solo. But before we get into that, if any hat companies want to send me some free stuff, you know, I like hats, so you can send me them. You only get one shot, do not miss your chance to go and get some free hats. So there it is. At Fill My Chambers, hit me up. We start off with Jacob versus Kevin, and Owens kind of gets the upper hand in it, but during this kind of bit, Cole mentions that Owens has never pinned a member of the Bloodline before, which is just kind of nuts when you think of the sheer amount of matches that Kevin Owens has had against the Bloodline. I assume he means this version of the Bloodline, not the original Bloodline, but if it was the original Bloodline as well, that's even more crazy. But that is an interesting stat, and that feeds in to the rest of this match. We then have a bunch of tags all over the place. It ends up being Orton versus Fatu, but Fatu like clotheslines Orton out of the ring, but he does it in the worst possible place, because he does it right in front of the announce table, and we all know there is nothing that Randy Orton loves more than slamming people onto the announce table. So he does it with Jacob Fatu, but he no-sells it. He gets straight back up. He tears the top off the ring announcer's table thing, and then Orton goes mad and grabs him again, and he smashes him on the table. And he grabs him again, and he smashes him on the table. And he ends up doing this 4 times until Solo comes in, and then he just does it to Solo as well, because he just loves it. He really, really likes it. Unfortunately, though, he picked the worst time in the match that he could possibly do this, because it was right before the commercial break, and you hate to see it with such a seasoned professional as Randy Orton. But when we came back, the Bloodline were in control. I mean, Randy, you've got to pick your spots, man. The Bloodline beat down Kevin Owens to the point where he is just absolutely desperate to get that hot tag to Randy Orton. He's reaching out and reaching out and reaching out and building it and building it and building it. Eventually, we get the big hot tag. And, well, Randy Orton does all of the things that Randy Orton does. He hits the big spinning power slams on both of them. He hits a draping DDT on Solo Sikoa, and he readies himself to hit him with the RKO, but Jacob Fatu distracts him at the last minute, and then Solo hits him with the Samoan drop. And then Owens is back, and he's going mad, and he's hitting big clotheslines on the outside, running about like a madman, hits sentons on them both on the outside, hits a frog splash on the apron to the outside, and then he hits a swanton in the ring onto Solo Sikoa, but he only gets a 2 count. But it builds him up, and he's ready to hit him with the stunner, and then it all goes wrong, because out comes Tama Tonga and Tangaloa. The distraction kind of lets Solo hit the spinning Solo, but he only gets a 2 count, because out comes Cody Rhodes and he takes out the Tongans, and then Orton hits the RKO on Tama Tonga, and then Owens hits the stunner on Solo, and that should be it. That should be Kevin Owens finally getting a pinfall victory over a member of the Bloodline, but it's not, because Jacob Fatu throws Cody into the ring onto the referee, which means he can't count for the 3. Now, obviously, this kind of annoys Owens, and he ends up arguing with Cody, but that is when Jacob Fatu hits him with a whole bunch of super kicks, and then Solo pins him for the 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens still yet to pin a member of the Bloodline. Obviously, Owens kind of gets in Cody's face at the end of it, and they start pushing, and it gets really, really heated, and then Orton comes in to kind of calm down the whole situation, and we kind of fade out on a bit of a hug from Kevin Owens. But there's a lot of ripples in this little friendship group now, more than kind of ever before since Cody did that kind of joins forces with Roman Reigns last week in the big cinema moment. But I am going to give all of this a massive up, because the match itself is really good fun. Owens is just great. He's so much fun in ring. He's like imaginative and creative. I love it. But yeah, like I say, this is just all adding big ripples into Cody's sort of friendship group. We're leading into the tag match at Bloodline, which is kind of going to separate them a little bit more, because he's joining forces with Roman Reigns, the guy they've been fighting for years and years and years. And obviously this is going to build up to the big sort of War Games match between them all, and how the kind of friendship groups align and what ripples there are between them in the run up to that. It's fascinating to see, because like I said earlier, it's all kind of based on reality. It's based on things that you can see. You can see why all of these people would have gripes about all of these certain things. Every person's motivation is coming from a place of reality, and that's what makes these things work. So that is it. Overall, I am definitely giving this episode of SmackDown an up. Not the best episode in the world, but everything on it was really solid and good fun. No downs. Yeah, I can't think of any downs, but why not? Hey, it's positive show. Why the hell not keep up with the positivity? Thank you very much for joining me. You can follow me over on Twitter and X, whatever, and Instagram at FillMyChambers. And Simon Miller will be back for Raw, as I say. He's just, one of those things. The timing's kind of got a little bit screwed up, but here we are. Thank you very much for joining me. You can watch Simon's reaction to AEW Dynamite in this video right here. And most importantly, have yourselves a bloody good day. Goodbye.